Hello and welcome to another Monteverde Mania March ink review. Today is Capri Blue. This is a really lovely color. It's probably more vibrant than the actual cover or the label suggests. It's got nice little bit of sheen and that kind of stuff, some nice shading. So let's have a look at it on some paper. First things first, here it is on a colouring card. You can see that lovely sort of vibrant blue, a little bit of red sheen there popping up. It's nice. It's kind of, I'm going to say this wrong, so please forgive me, but cerulean blue kind of feel to it. I like it a lot. I think it's actually got a very beautiful sort of colour range to it. Now we see it on Tomoe River paper, as per usual, the two TWSBI Go's, the broad and the extra fine. Let's start with these 5 points. First thing is it's part of their standard run, so it's not one of from their sets like the gemstone or the noir or the jungle set or anything like that. This is a standalone standard run ink. It has that ITF technology, which helps with the flow and not drying up in the nib and all of those kinds of features of the ink. It's made in Austria, which is a generic thing that I have read and seen. Little information about, official information about who actually makes these inks, but they're made for Monteverde. I've said here good on the page, and what I mean by that is the feel on the page, the flow and sort of the general sort of the look on the page. There are some performance issues which we will get into in just a second. And then the last thing I want to talk about is the packaging. Now, Monteverde inks come in a couple of different kinds of packaging, and unfortunately this comes in this sort of plastic box, which I just do not enjoy. They're sort of awkward, and I much prefer the cardboard boxes that a lot of the inks in sort of the ink sets come in, and I hope that they transfer these to that as well. The other little thing to comment about the packaging is the fact that this one has one of the metal lids, they have metal lids, which is excellent. Like some have had plastic lids, but I prefer the metal lid there, not just because it's less plastic in the world, but just because I actually find them to be a little bit more secure, less prone to breaking perhaps. Let's now talk about the performance. So I've said it's a nice bright blue, which you can clearly see it is. Shading is good, and there's some good sheen. Not a lot of sheen, it's kind of like that halo sheen. Like I'll show the colouring card again. You can see the sheen there. So it's where the ink pools, you get a little bit of sheen around the edge of it as opposed to like blanket sheen. Fair performance. We're going to talk about this on some other paper. On Tomoe River and primarily on things like Rhodia Clairefontaine, this ink would be fine. There is some water resistance. So this is where I put the water down on a little crosshatch there and then dab it up. And you can see a lot of while it has clearly spread, a lot of the information is still able to, you can actually still make it out. I said high-ish saturation. It's not like super saturated like some of those organic studio inks or anything like that. Just nicely saturated. And it's better in less wet pens. Which we'll see on the other paper. But I think it is a relatively wet ink. And you can see with the dry time after 2 seconds and then after 20 seconds, it's still actually drying. So things to think about there. Extras. Some sheen. Good shade, no shimmer, and definitely not permanent, although I said there's some water resistance. And this is actually where I do a new thing I'm doing, a little triangle where and then move it around with a water brush. So it's not moving around a whole lot, just kind of enough to make it sort of move. Let's look at it on some other paper. Let's start at the bottom and work our way up. So I have it on student notepad paper here, uniform, sort of more grey kind of light blue. A little bit of feathering, as you can see, not a whole lot, but it's actually the bleed, particularly in the broad, that is actually quite strong. You look at it in comparison to Olivine there, I think it bleeds a little bit more heavily, and that is the same here on the printer paper, the 80 GSM reflex copy paper. It actually holds quite nicely on there. And once again, that more uniform colour, but on the reverse, just a little bit more bleed. Not as much as some other inks, but a little bit there. On Rhodia here, so that swab I think looks absolutely stunning. Some nice light shading in there, some nice sort of deeper shading. It's good. The color looks beautiful. It's vibrant. It pops on the page. One of the things I love about this ink. Dry time starts to move around a little bit there. And if we look at the reverse of this page, we'll see that nothing comes through apart from a couple of little spots just down here. But generally speaking, it performs okay. On the reverse of the Tomoe River page, we just get a couple of spots come through here, but this is where there are like multiple lines. I crossed something out, and so we get a little bit sort of extra ink coming down, and where the water has moved it and things like that, we just see a little bit more bleed happening on the Tomoe River here. If we look at the chromatography now, it's pretty uniform. It's slightly lighter and then gets darker as it goes up, and this little like halo of reddy pink at the top, which I think is rather interesting. You don't normally see sheen coming through in chromatography because that's more a product of the concentration of the dyes. So there is there's an element of a pink or a purple within this ink to create this particular shade. To put the color into context, I've done a little bit of I'm doing a color comparison now with a couple of inks. First is Robert Oster True Blue, which has a similar kind of sheen. If I hold it, sort of up both at the same to the light, we see like that halo sheen. Some of these lighter shades are sort of similar, but I think this middle vibrant blue is unique to Capri Blue. And then if we look at it alongside Konpeki, the Pilot Iroshizuku Konpeki ink, which is a big favorite, you see the middle blue is still a lot more vibrant on the Capri Blue, but some of that darker shading again is similar, and we get that red sheen once again, a trademark of inks in this kind of color family, I believe. So looking at the price now, as I say, I'm just looking at the 30ml bottles for these because they're sort of more readily available, and the larger bottles sort of go in and out at the same, and you don't get every colour in them as well. So the Capri Blue in the 30ml bottle, the US price of these 30ml bottles is around $10, depending on the retailer, and in Australia around the $12.95 mark. So really reasonable price. It's one of the things I really enjoy about Monteverde inks. So I started by giving this a 4 out of 5, and then I changed it to a 3 out of 5. And the reason I changed it down 1 is just because some of that performance on the slightly lower end paper, if you had it in an extra fine nib or a fine nib that wasn't super wet, I think you would be okay. But if you have it in anything, broader or wetter, you're going to run into some trouble, even on paper that is slightly fountain pen friendly. So I've just given it a 3.5. Other than that, like the cleaning, the performance, the performance on the page and the flow and the saturation, all really great. Vibrant and nice on the page. Not perfect in wetter pens is my comment. So that was Monteverde Capri Blue, a beautiful colour, a really lovely blue ink. Not perfect, but I think still a really nice ink nonetheless. I hope you found this video interesting and useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notifications button if you want to stay up to date with the videos that I produce. Please feel free to get in touch using any of the platforms listed below. You can find me on Instagram or Twitter at @the_offstage_me, or you can contact me in any of my videos here, or drop me an email which is listed down below. If you've got products you think I should be looking at, or if there's a way you'd like to support the channel by sponsoring a review or providing an item for review, I would love to hear from you. A big thank you to Monteverde and its affiliates here in Australia for providing a couple of products for this month of reviews. I am incredibly grateful for their support of the channel, and as I said, for providing a couple of inks here. So thank you for watching. Enjoy your inks, enjoy writing, and I'll talk to you soon.